Hello everyone, Sam here. So in this short video, I just want to introduce the first level of the diploma. So our fully accredited diploma in clinical Ayurveda exclusively for yoga teachers is made up of 3 distinct levels: level 1, level 2 and level 3. So level 1 is obviously where we start, and the aim of level 1 is to provide a really deep immersion into all things Ayurveda from a clinical perspective, but also from a contextual one, because it's really important to overview and introduce and understand why Ayurveda fits so perfectly into the Western health model here in this day and age right now. Because we know the evidence shows that if we can begin to integrate Ayurveda into people's lifestyles, if we can begin to give them these subtle but profoundly effective tools, it can have huge capacity to prevent disease, to manage disease, to treat disease. And it's looking at where that fits. What does the evidence show? Why is Ayurveda so suited to this day and age? Because that's the foundation from which everything else is launched. So we'll spend a lot of time looking at that. We'll look at contextualizing that around Western science and Western public health. And having done that, we then dive headfirst into the very heart of Ayurveda, which is the famed tri-dosha theory. Ayurveda is defined by the doshas, Vata, Pitta and Kapha. And if we're to be successful with Ayurveda, if you're to be successful with Ayurveda in terms of teaching it, in terms of practicing it, in terms of advocating it, in terms of integrating it into your yogic business and your yoga practice, we need a really deep understanding of what these doshas are. What do they do? What roles do they play? How do we observe them? What do they control? How do they compare and correlate to Western science, Western medicine, Western genetics? So by the end of these modules, you'll have a really solid understanding. You'll be able to describe and articulate and understand and observe and see what the doshas are, how they relate, how they work, what they control. And that's so important because with that knowledge, that's the springboard into clinical Ayurveda. Because there is a difference between general Ayurveda, general lifestyle Ayurveda and clinical Ayurveda. And the difference is that in clinical Ayurveda, we're looking to really funnel the treatments in a very specific person-centered way. And to do that, we need a really strong understanding of something called Vikruti. And Vikruti is how the doshas are playing out in someone's life here and now. So if you've got a client or someone in your yoga class who's got a given problem, they've got osteoarthritis or they've got fatigue, you can treat those problems in a very generalized way. If you're treating someone or someone comes to you for advice for osteoarthritis, you can recommend turmeric or boswellia or a medicated herbal oil and you'll get a very, very good outcome. But if you understand that person's Vikruti, their unique doshic makeup, you can really, really funnel into that and make the treatments, the approaches, the dietary recommendations, the herbs, the medicines much more specific. And with that specificity comes a much greater chance of clinical success. So a big part of the level 1 syllabus is overviewing in detail what Vikruti is, how Vikruti relates to Western science and physiology and genetics, and then really diving into diagnostics. How do we diagnose someone's Vikruti? In your yoga business, in your practice, someone comes to you for help. How do you actually diagnose that? How do you assess them? How do you get clarity and confidence in your ability to diagnose that person? Because with that comes everything. If you can successfully diagnose a client's Vikruti, that is the gateway to clinical success. And having taught Ayurveda for years and years and years and years, having taught hundreds of students, that is the linchpin. Once you're able to understand and diagnose Vikruti, everything else falls into place. So we put a lot of emphasis onto this using a really time-tested model and framework, which is really simple, really easy to learn, doesn't require a lot of time, but will allow you to do this in a very, very pragmatic way, using assessment forms, using questionnaires, using questions. So that's the whole aim of level 1, is to contextualize Ayurveda, is to contextualize the doshas, to give a robust understanding of the doshas, to introduce diagnostics, Vikruti, and that then provides the platform for moving on to level 2 of the diploma, which is where we get our hands dirty looking at the fundamentals of Ayurvedic treatments in terms of dietary modifications, dietary protocols, lifestyle practice, chronomedicine, digestion support, detoxification regimes, etc., etc. So I'll see you in the next video for a broader overview of level 2 of the Diploma in Clinical Ayurveda for yoga teachers.